I'll delete my old tutorial after I've done this one. Basic ship build. Okay. I'm going to do it in survival mode so you can actually see the stuff that we need. Online, offline is irrelevant for the purpose of this, but so this is if you start with the big red ship. I have changed my keys a little bit. One of the first things to note is, and you're going to need this, the medical station. Okay. Sorry, I just had to yell on my dog. Okay, so the medical station here replenishes our health, our oxygen and our energy. This here is the command chair for the actual ship. This is a crash ship. That's it. Over here you've got the H2O. From this we actually have access to different parts of the ship via the conveyor system. Just going to grab our, or actually see if I can just move them to wherever we need them. Yeah, there we go. There's some stuff that we're going to need. So under control panel we're going to turn on the assembler and we're going to turn on the refinery. Okay, so then we're going to move silicon to the top of the line and make silicon wafers. So the ship has a conveyor system, so stuff will go from the refinery to the assembler if we tell the assembler to produce stuff. So we're going to tell the assembler that we need to produce. If we control click, I believe it is, gives us 10 at a time. I think shift click is 100. And you'll notice it's actually producing those displays for us straight off the bat. So we can actually grab those out in a minute, but most of what we need we're going to be able to make. There's a few things that we're going to not be able to make. 10 steel plates, or actually 20 steel plates, 15 interior plates. And so you'll see here that different things require, it shows you in the middle what materials require. And this one here shows us all the connected devices in the station. So we're going to need, I think, 5 to 10 grids. We're going to need the small tubes, the steel, large tubes, 50 construction components. We'll probably need some more of those. I think we need 10 bulletproof glass if I'm not mistaken. Computers, we'll just take a lot. So I'm right clicking and dragging across to get this box that asks me how much, otherwise I'm just double clicking, or once again I can control click to get 10, shift click to get 100, or double click to get the lot. That'll do us for the moment. Reactor components we're going to have to get a different way, so we'll go through that in a second. So I'm just going to replenish my oxygen supplies again. You'll notice that they've gone down. And that's because I didn't close the door when I came in, and I don't believe that the ship's pressure was there. Okay, so we're just going to build our ship straight out here. So the first thing we need is a landing leg. So if we press G, that brings up our all of our equipment we can use. So the first thing we want is cargo blocks. So if we just type in cargo, medium cargo container, and I'm just going to drag that down to, say, slot 7. We're also going to need a landing gear, so I'll pop that in slot 8. And we're going to need an armor block. So if we just type in light armor blocks are all we need. We already have them down here, but just for the sake of it, and a cockpit as well. So if we search for cockpits, there's two different ones, a fighter cockpit and a normal one. So once again, we'll just drag down what we need, and we have our tools 1, 2, and 3, welder, grinder, hand drill. Now we're also going to need a couple of bits and pieces. So we'll start off with putting our landing gear. Now you're probably thinking, hey, this thing's a bit oversized for what we want, and you would be right. So all we do is we press 8 again, and look at that, we have ourselves a nice small landing gear. And we just move our mouse down until it goes red, and then we bring it just back up into green. And we turn that around so that it's facing the right way, just nudging it to make sure that it's going to stay. It's not actually necessary to weld it or complete it. We can now just go back in here, and we want to search for a gyroscope, which we're going to need. Place the landing gear. We're also going to need a reactor, so we want a small reactor. And once we've actually done our next part, so because we're using a small landing gear, where's that look? That's okay. Alright, so yes, because we're using a small landing gear, we get small blocks. So one of the things with this game is small blocks attached to small blocks, large blocks attached to large blocks. The medium cargo containers are a little bit of an anomaly in the way that we're going to use it, so don't stress too much about that. That's all we need for small blocks. So we're going to replace those now with a conveyor. Okay, so we just want the small conveyor. And that's all the components we're going to need. So we basically take our medium cargo container and we sit it on top of our little pylon there. We don't need to construct any of the stuff below, but we do need to construct the container. Now we only need to make these functional, we don't actually need to go any further, which means I don't need all the components for the purpose of showing you how to build it. To build the ship properly, you want everything at 100%. So as soon as it goes above that line though and becomes functional, you can actually see the item. So cockpit's next on the list. Now you'll notice that it's got two small things on the back. When we put it against the cargo container, it will automatically adjust itself, and you'll see there that it's actually put a nice large connector. Now connectors are important. They must always face the same way. That's a really important thing. So what we do need is motors. We can just open this cargo hatch and see this. Let's see if we can just check. Got a nickel in there. Yes, we do. Told them to make 100 motors, so I don't think we'll need anywhere near that many. Just grab out. So the process. This is something we'll get to later on. You don't have to worry about it. I'm just making these to explain, show you the components we need to make the ship to begin with. And we're just making basically, this is going to be a little more than a flying cargo container. Okay, so you can now see from there you basically have a ship that can fly, except for the fact that it has no thrusters, it has no motor, etc. So what we're going to put next is the conveyor, and this is where, as I said, you will notice that the lines on the containers are lined up the same way. That's important. So we're going to complete we don't need to complete the conveyor, just get it functioning once again. And onto the conveyor, we are going to pop our number 9, our reactor. Okay. So I can put the reactor onto any of those as long as, once again, they're facing the same direction as, but now we have to have the base component on us to actually craft it, like to place an object. That means that I'm out of steel plates, as we can see. Production, let's go 100 steel plates, move that to the Y. Now steel plates I can also get really easily here just by grinding. So I could get 13 steel plates just from that's resource harvesting, which is something a little bit different, and more than what we need to get into, so for the purpose of building our ship. So we're now gonna just double check. I'm just floating a little bit here. Try and get myself just as still as I can. So once again, this needs to just be functional. We would prefer that it was working. Now, you'll notice we need reactor components. Now, rather than building reactor components, I am going to harvest some reactor components. Have the large ship reactor down here. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is, before we go destroy it for components, is grab out the uranium, because we're going to need that. Then, if you look at the right hand side, you'll see all the stuff that it contains. If we just grind it down the bottom, you'll see that blue bar filling up. Inventory full. I've got my light on, don't I? Okay, I need to find my way back out of here. I'll just go out there. It's the easy way. Okay, so where's our little ship that we're building? There it is. Unknown signals and stuff. Don't worry about explaining right now. So we now have our reactor. So the next thing that we need is a gyroscope. Now, what is a gyroscope? Fairly straightforward. The gyroscope is what allows us to actually steer the ship around. Now, gyroscopes don't have to be connected to conveyors or anything like that. They can literally sit anywhere. I can put it right there on the anywhere that's green. It will literally go, and it'll be fine there. So the more gyroscopes that we have, the more responsive the ship will be. So once again, just to get it working, I'm only going to make it functional. You build a ship, you want to make it 100%. So we now have two gyroscopes. They're just going to make it move around a bit better than if I had just one. And last but not least is the ion thrusters. Now once again, these don't need to be connected to anything, but extremely important is that we have one facing every direction. So we have to have up, down, left, right, back and forward. Doesn't matter where they are on the ship, as long as they're connected to the ship in some capacity. So if we go back, forward, up, right, left. Now this is ugly as hell, but it serves the purpose. And down. Alright, so I need to go and get some thruster components. I'm pretty sure there's some here. Okay, so what do we need for thruster? Gold and platinum. Do we have gold and platinum in we have cobalt and... Okay. Alright, that's fine. Thruster components. We're on a big ship that has lots of thrusters, so... There we go. Inventory full, but we're holding 30 thruster components, so that's more than enough. I'm going to complete the thrusters, so... done. Once again, they don't have to be completed, they only have to be functional. For the purpose of this, but completing them, especially on the bigger stuff, actually makes it finish building up the item. So it's more of a cosmetic thing for the most part. Okay, so what have we got? We've got up, down, left, right, back, forward. So looks ugly as hell. And one other thing that you're probably going to want to put on any ship that you build, and this is not something that's easy to come by the parts for necessarily, but if you've got the parts to build it, always build one, and it's a beacon. Antennas for larger ships, that's where it becomes hard to get the parts for them. The purpose of the beacon is really simple. When we want to find the ship, we're going to want to use that beacon. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just into the cargo container, just to show you how this works. Just going to pop in, say, 2 kilos of uranium. Well, actually no, what we'll do is we'll pop in 1.5, so I'm keeping 0.2 on me and that's it. So in the container there you can see it's 3.5 kilos of uranium. Now we need to actually put some into one of the reactors to get things started. Now in this case we've only got one reactor, so all we'll do is grind down that conveyor just a fraction so we can get to the panel on the back of the reactor. So when it highlights yellow we can access it, and we'll put in our 0.21 kilos, and then we fix up our... You'll notice the ship's now started up, everything's turning green, the thrusters are on, and if we have a look at the cargo container you'll see how that conveyor is working. and it's drawing the uranium out of our cargo container and into our reactor down here. That is now a functioning ship, and so you'll see the beacon there is called beacon. If we just jump into the ship and go to the inventory, under control panel, this shows us all the connected parts. We're actually going to grind off the landing gear and all that in a minute. So what we're interested in here is the beacon. So at this part you just call it, you know, Smacky's basic ship. And that's it. Done. Okay. I'm now going to turn off that, so it's now disconnected from anything. It's just sitting there, and when I move away from it, because I've got a beacon on it, I can find my ship. We could use GPS markers. You can create GPS markers at any point by going into inventory, GPS, and go new from current position. The problem is, as soon as you move your ship away from there, your marker's gone. So I'll jump in the ship and give you an idea of just how small it is in the scheme of things. So we can move around and we're going to get it going. So we're going to turn the dampeners off. There's only 11 seconds left to get that, so I won't bother with it explaining it. Now by turning the dampeners off, you'll notice that in the bottom left, doing 51.48 meters per second, and the ship will literally continue to just do that with the dampeners off. And in the bottom right, you'll notice that it's getting longer and longer because it's drawing the uranium from the cargo compartment. But we're currently at 39 days, 40 days. That's based on just traveling as we are. If I manually do anything, we come back to 5 hours. So that's time that the ship will actually just continue, like actual time, not compressed time or anything like that. Never jump out of your ship until you're back down to 0.00 meters per second. So just to explain why, just at half a meter a second with the dampeners off, if you forget, I'm sitting still. It feels like I'm falling away. It's actually the ship moving up. Turn the dampeners off, get out again, ship doesn't move. Okay. You can also turn your ship off. Y will power it down, and she'll just sit there and won't use any uranium. If you power a ship off while it's connected to your power to your like base station via a connector, or even via the grid, I think, it can actually power your entire station down. So you're better off letting them parked, you know, on their landing gear or whatever, and turned off. So that is just, you know, your most basic of ships. Now I'm just gonna fly away here, turn my dampeners off, moving at 110 meters a second, and I'm now going, okay, where's my ship? If I didn't have that beacon on it, and I'd just come over to explore this asteroid or that asteroid or that asteroid, I would not be able to find my ship. It is literally only visible because of the blue marker around it. You can see how small it is in the scheme of things. Always angle off to the side or come in slowly. Make sure you've got dampeners on when you're approaching your ship, so that you don't go slamming into the side of it, because if you do, you die. So yeah, that beacon is, you know, extremely important if you don't want to lose your ship. And a good example of that is, where's that big red ship where we started? There's no beacon or antenna on that, so at this point we'd have to search around for it and hope we got lucky and found it again. Or we could have just gone and built a beacon on there and gone, you know, big red ship, and we would have been sweet. In any case, it's irrelevant because we have our flying turd. So basically, yeah, make sure you've got one thruster pointing each direction, minimum of one reactor, minimum of one gyroscope, and the beauty of it is as well, if we go into the inventory, we can go to control panel, and if we find we've got too many gyroscopes, we can actually just go and turn one off, and the ship turns differently. If I go in and I turn off the second, you'll notice I now can't turn the ship at all. I can only turn it by, or I can actually only drift by going left and right. I've actually disabled my ability to turn the ship by turning off my gyroscopes. So you want those on. The same, if you have multiple reactors, you can come in and toggle your reactors on and off. And, you know, you can rename all the parts of your ship as you see fit. GPS markers, great for, you know, you discover an asteroid that's got silver, gold, nickel. Well, create a GPS marker saying silver, gold, nickel, and then you can save that GPS marker and then turn it off, and you can share GPS markers with your friends as well, if you're playing in the same save game or on the same dedicated server. So yeah, enjoy. I mean, there's a lot more you can do. You know, you can add oxygen, like you'll notice my oxygen's going down at the moment, so you can add oxygen generators and put them onto your conveyor systems. You can put rocket launchers on the side. You'll notice that red marker just there, that's actually an enemy. Just for the sake of it, let's fly over there and die spectacularly. We have no weapons at all on this ship. And also very, very important is to make sure that when you're building your ships, you want equal numbers of thrusters. So if you have 2 thrusters to the left, you want 2 thrusters to the right. If you have 2 thrusters pointing up, you want 2 thrusters pointing down. It'll stop your ship from just skewing off course. Okay, so with dampeners off, I'm moving along at 100 meters a second. And you'll notice that's 10 meters a second slower than I can move outside of the ship. I believe that is so that, you know, should I accidentally jump out of the ship or whatever, I can actually catch back up to it and get it. So, 5 kilometers to our freighter. This is not our freighter, by the way, this is just... If it's red, red means bad, green means good. I'm expecting to get blown up when I get within about a kilometer of it. So yeah, you can actually build fighters, you can build big ships, you can build small ships, you can build all sorts of things. You do need to mine if you're in survival mode. Survival mode's more fun than creative mode in my opinion. But, there we go. And now it's attacking me. It is actually possible to get in there and disable the turret. there's a couple of turrets there. It's possible to get in there and actually break them down. If you restart, so say you die, you restart, you get a planetary lander. That'll start you in the orbit of Earth, I believe, typically. So any ship that you get when you start out like that will be a temporary ship, and it will despawn at a certain point. I think it tells us just here. Yeah, no, it doesn't. It tells us when we start up. But this actually gives you can cannibalize the ship and then rebuild the ship from it. This is actually a large ship, not a small ship. It's got a refinery and everything on it, so you can actually construct yourself a whole bunch of stuff from one of these, and it's actually got a service station that you can put on here. Okay, so medieval gears, I've got a bunch of these as well. There's an exit here somewhere. So that is a planetary lander. They use a different type of thruster, so that when you're landing on planets you can land safely. So you know, so it doesn't, or it does have, does it have ion? No, I don't think it actually has any ion thrusters. But yeah, basically start a new game, or die and you need a ship that's going to get you there, or you want to start building a new ship. That's basically how you do it. You've got your components all there, you can break it down. I mean, what those batteries contain, the amount of bullets you get out of that, for example, is insane. With batteries, 120 power cells, 25 computers, your conveyors. I mean, just the amount of materials you can pull out of this ship. You get your gyroscopes. There's a refinery there. There's a 1100 steel plate just in the refinery. So the refinery is what you use to basically break down raw metals, or to convert raw metals into ingots. So just to explain that quickly. As long as you know how to build a basic ship, from there it's just, you know, play around with pressing G, look at all the stuff you can build. I mean, it's got everything for building. If you start on an Earth base, you can build all your gear for like cars and whatnot. The cars unfortunately do tend to break apart as soon as they hit anything. If they hit a light block at speed, it's enough to actually tear the thing apart. Just quickly before I go, it's only going to take a couple of seconds. I'm just going to nick over to this unknown signal. As I said, always come in just off to the side and get used to how long it takes you to slow down once you turn your dampeners back on. So I know it takes me, you know, a couple of hundred meters, so like 150 to 200 meters to go from 110 meters a second to 0. Some of these will actually like thrust away on you. Some of them, or most of them won't. So you'll see there's a button panel. Just press it and you get special content. Try your luck. You click OK, and you either get nothing or you get a new item. So I've got a cow welder, and I can actually now go and sell that cow welder on Steam, on the Steam market. So it's an actual skin for the welder that you can sell. But these are handy for breaking down, and one of the important things inside them is you'll see that it's got a reactor. So there's also a small cargo container that can contain upgraded gear as well as upgraded stuff. It's got an enhanced drill, so that you'll see it's a 1 chevron drill. Unfortunately, one thing with this game, you'll notice down the bottom here, it hasn't changed it, so you actually need to search drill and take your 1 chevron drill. You'll notice that's dark grey means you don't have it, and replace it there, and that gives you a drill that drills faster. But because I bumped it, it's now floating away. Okay, where's our button? Okay, and there we go, we can grab the uranium out of the reactor. And if you need reactor parts, grab 3 reactor components from each of those small reactors. And you can basically run around and grab those things till your heart's content. And they'll pop up quite regularly. There's yellow ones that appear much further away, pretty much of the same thing. So I hope I haven't bored you too much, and yeah, if you need to know how to play Space Engineers and actually make a ship, that should now teach you how. So yeah, best of luck, enjoy your engineering and your spacing out. Cheers guys.